What's going on, Celtics fans? How are we doing today? I know, surprising podcast coming out early Monday. We wanted to get some coverage for you in this play-in tournament game that is going to be happening tonight, 7:30, Indiana Pacers versus Boston Celtics. The line comes out -4.5 Boston, over-unders 241. It's looking to be a high-scoring game. This one is going to be very fun, and I can't wait to dive into this episode and just talk about what I think is going to happen, what I think is going to happen during the rest of the play-in tournament, and where the Celtics look at this point in the season. And they 15-4, number one in the East, but they got a couple teams knocking on the door behind them. So it's going to be up to them to fully commit to wanting to win this in-season tournament, win these next couple games and hopefully gain some confidence going into the middle part of the season where teams, usually decide to let go of the gas a little bit. And we hope that this Celtics team does not let go of the gas, keeps pushing forward into the playoffs, gets in healthy, and we can finally see a fully healthy Celtics team competing for an NBA championship. Very excited about it. Let's dive into the episode. So looking at this game tonight, there's a lot of high-scoring offense that is going to be on the court tonight, even with Kristaps Porzingis missing the game with that calf injury. Unfortunately for Celtics fans, that may be why you're seeing that line at -4.5. I mean, Celtics are clearly a better team than Indiana. Indiana can't block a traffic cone right now on defense. They are absolutely horrible on defense. Completely different story on offense, but you're not going to win a lot of games against good teams, especially a team like the Celtics with that poor of a defense. So right now, the Indiana Pacers are 10-8, and they have looked good and horrible this year. Tyrese Halliburton did have an illness going into the Miami game a couple days ago, and he was out, and I fully expect him to be a part of the game tonight, but we're going to look at these stats as if he's playing tonight. But if he's not playing tonight, oh my God, house on the Celtics. That team would be horrible, nothing without Tyrese Halliburton. That man is having an amazing season, one of the most efficient players, 11.8 assists per game, number one in the NBA, alongside that 27 points per game total he's putting up. He is a crazy offensive weapon for Indiana. They really lucked out on that Sabonis trade because, trading an all-star away, and for a team that, it's a small market, it's probably a lot harder for them to get free agents and, high value players onto their team. But they've found a way, one, signing Bruce Brown, great contract, great player. He stepped up big for them in that Miami game. And I think that this team shipping away Sabonis for Halliburton shows you how much they loved Tyrese Halliburton and how much faith they had that he could be the centerpiece of their entire franchise. He has had a great year. Another great year for Miles Turner, 16.6 points per game, 7.8 rebounds. He's averaging 2.1 blocks per game. So he can provide spacing on the floor because he is one of the better three-point shooting centers in the NBA, along with being one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. Celtics not having Kristaps is going to be huge in this game, I think. I believe that the Celtics will roll out a starting lineup of Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Al Horford. And although I love this starting lineup, and I think that, putting all of your best guys, to start the game, I mean, usually there's nothing wrong with that. But I think when you have Kristaps out and you're inserting Al Horford into the lineup, I think it just really makes this team look very top heavy. Going into the start of the game, they can go out, they can go up 15 points. But then as soon as that bench comes in, I know Pritchard and Sam Hauser have been having great years for us. As soon as that bench goes in, you're going to see that lead start to dip. And I would love to see either Drew Holiday or Derek White go up to Joe Mazzulla and be like, hey, let me come off the bench today. Let me run that second unit and make sure that we keep this lead, build on this lead, because the Celtics have been one of the best first quarter teams in the NBA. But once that beginning of the second quarter comes, it's been a little bit rough. And, missing one of your best star players offensively, it's going to hurt you so much when you have to pull people out of the game. And Al Horford is getting those Kristaps minutes in the early second. And, with guys like Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser, they're good when they have stars on the court. But when it's them and they're being focused on the offensive end, it can look a really stagnant for the Celtics, and I would love to see them make that flip going into this game. Another bright spot for this Indiana Pacers team has been Obi Toppin's play. They just acquired him from the New York Knicks, and he's putting up great numbers right now. 13.1 points per game, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. He bounces out of the gym. He is an easy, perfect lob threat for a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who can put it anywhere he wants, puts the ball anywhere he wants on the court. And you got a guy that can jump out the gym like that and grab it, over the backboard. Like, it's perfect fit for him. I've loved what I've seen from Obi Toppin. He's only getting 25 minutes per game too, and he's putting up great scoring numbers. And I think that, yeah, they're one of the worst defensive teams. So Obi Toppin is an offensive minded player, and he's been great offensively. Like, they're the number one offense, don't get me wrong. But that defense has been so bad that maybe they should have looked in a direction they did with Bruce Brown, but get another guy in there that's just more defensive oriented. Maybe they expected Aaron Nesmith to take a bigger step this year. He looked good early on, but he's kind of slowed down as the year's gone on. And I think he could be a great role player for them as well, but he's more defensive oriented. So maybe we see, if the Pacers can't stop us on the defensive side, maybe we see more Aaron Nesmith minutes, and maybe Obi Toppin gets the seat. And I think that's why his minutes per game is only at 25 right now. But he's looked great offensively. If he could just step up a bit defensively, be able to rotate a little bit better, maybe run a different coverage for him, because if he's in drop coverage, which the Indiana Pacers love to play, if he's in drop coverage and he's contesting a deep three on a guy that can make them, because he's a shorter big, I think that he's easy to shoot over. And so it's kind of like baby food. I don't want to like be disrespectful or anything, but it's baby food when he's in the pick and roll. So the offensive stats great, defensively has not looked great, and Indiana's going to have to find a way to, although they are a great offensive team, they're still going to need to find a way to stop people when it matters, because if you're just a great offense and great in transition, you're not going to get any transition opportunities if you're not stopping anybody on the defensive end. And it's really a shame that the Pacers don't have just a tad bit better defense, because if they did, they would be one of the scariest teams in the NBA, but they cannot stop anybody right now. One of the stats that I think is going to matter a lot in this game is pace of play. And the Pacers are number one in the league in pace of play at 104, 104.2 to be exact. And the Celtics right now sit at 22nd with 98 in their pace per play. And yes, I think the Celtics have played at a great pace. Sometimes the offense we've seen gets stagnant, gets ISO heavy, and that doesn't favor in our direction when guys are having a bad shooting night. And Jason Tatum, for all the greatness he's done, one of his biggest flaws is being inconsistent. He has those kind of James Harden-like games where he's giving you like many turnovers, many missed shots, and it's a lot of missed possessions for the Celtics. So the pace of play could be a big factor in, if you're a betting man, deciding the over-under. The Pacers, oh my God, their over-unders this year have been insane. I work at a sports book, and I wouldn't even second guess seeing a 260, a 270 from them, especially in that game with Atlanta. That was just a high-scoring affair. And I think that going into this game, I always am a little bit hesitant when a number one offense is coming in. Everybody knows they're a number one offense, and the line's at 241 right now, which means that I think Vegas assumes that the Pacers are going to either struggle offensively, or that the Pacers are going to win this game and the Celtics aren't going to be able to do much offensively without Kristaps Porzingis. So I would kind of stay away from that line. And if we have everybody healthy, they have everybody healthy, the line sits at 4.5. I'm 100% taking the Celtics minus 4.5. Because even with Porzingis out, we still have an amazing offense. I would probably put us still in the top 5 with that Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford lineup. 5 guys that all can shoot. So the amount of offensive flexibility is unreal. Joe Mazzulla has inherited such a fun offense to try and create his style of how he wants to win basketball games, which is 100. If you watch any of the games, this guy loves his threes. The Celtics rank number 1 in 3-point attempts per game at 48 threes per game, and we average about 15 made per game, which sits at second in the NBA. Unfortunately, our percentage is 15th in the NBA, and what have you seen in our record? Oh, we have the number 1 record in the East. So maybe all of the people, all of the people calling in to the radio stations in the local Boston area that I hear complaining about this style of NBA basketball where it's chucking threes. And I want people to try to comprehend the numbers of why attempting so many threes favors in the Celtics direction. So, looking into it specifically, I think that shooting threes has been, for the past 10 years in the NBA, has been the way that you win basketball games. The most success we've seen out of NBA franchises has been when their teams can shoot the basketball and at least four of the guys in the starting lineup are over 35%. So they're considered above league average in the NBA. So I think that the Celtics having the 15th best percentile in 3-point shooting, middle of the league, but number one in attempts and sitting at 15-4, it really shines a light on how efficient basketball is being played in the NBA today and how important a good 3-point shooting team is. Another key box score team stat that is really going to play a factor in this game is the rebounding differential. The Celtics are second in the NBA at 47 rebounds per game. Pacers are 29th, so they're second worst in their respective. And so I think that with Porzingis out, this is going to benefit Indiana because Porzingis, although he's only averaging around 8 per game, and he's still leading our team. And when we have to go to the lineups with Cornette and Kada, teams love to stretch them out and try to protect the 3-point line. I think Indiana all day is going to try pick and roll, hoping that Kada, Cornette, and maybe even Horford aren't in a high drop. They're in a low drop. And Tyrese Halliburton, one of the best 3-point shooters in the league this year, he's going to take advantage of that space if we give that to him. The Celtics, in a game with Atlanta last week, they started the game on Trae Young and Bogdan Bogdanovic in a heavy, deep drop coverage. And so Al Horford and Kada and Cornette, they were all sitting in the paint waiting for Trae Young to come into them. And they were more concerned about the lob than they were with Trae Young. This led to Trae Young and Bogdan Bogdanovic starting the game 7 for 7 from 3. And we ended up making the switch late in the game to a high drop where we were attacking them on the 3-point line and letting our bigs roll with them to the basket. And I 100% think this is the right move for the Celtics from the get-go. Do not start in a deep drop because we're going to, let up a few threes early, and that could kill our entire momentum and the energy of the team. So these defensive sets are going to be very important for the Celtics to execute. It's not just the coach putting them in the right position. It's the players actually playing well along with it, obviously. And I think that with Kada, Cornette being very slow on their feet, there's going to be a few times where they get blown by and there's an easy layup because there's nobody else to protect at the rim. And I think you just got to live with that and hope that we can outscore them if they're just, getting driving layups and we're giving our bigs a chance to either block the shot or it goes in because they get right by them. I think the Celtics need to gamble on this with Porzingis out, and I think that Tatum at 8 rebounds per game right now, he's going to need at least 10, 12 to help us in that regard. Drew Holiday has been great, 7.2 per game, and I think that he's also going to need to step up because with the bigs pulling out into the perimeter, obviously there's not going to be a big man to grab the rebound, so the guards need to crash. And Drew Holiday is one of the best rebounding guards in the league, and I hope that he has a great rebounding game. And so this is going to be a quick episode. It's just a short little podcast to get it out right before the game, give you guys something to listen to on the way to work. But we're going to end this episode with a mailbag. We got 6 questions from fans about this game and the season in general that I'm going to be answering, giving my opinion on. So the first question here was by my good friend and former college roommate, Alex, from Utah. And he asks, I just converted to Mormon. Just kidding. He's not a Mormon yet. But he does ask, we are 2-1 versus the Sixers this year, and how much confidence do you have that we can beat them in the playoffs as we have in years past? Thank you, Alex, for sending in this comment. And first of all, we are the Sixers' daddy. Like, we fucking own those motherfuckers. They cannot in the playoffs cannot beat us the past 10 years. It's every time Joel Embiid and the Sixers come in, even when they're favored, when we had Kyrie and Gordon Hayward out with injuries, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown stepped up, Terry Rozier stepped up, got us to that conference championship game 7 against Cleveland. Yeah, well, we also destroyed Philly on the way to Cleveland. And I just think that this year, though, the Sixers just look different. I love what I've seen from them in a game where they didn't have Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, and we only win by 6 points. And for a while, it looked like the Celtics were gonna lose this game. And when the team gets the knowledge that Joel Embiid's not playing, they probably knew all day because it's a bigger injury. Okay, that's fine. Well, we got to make sure that we're protecting the perimeter well because they still got Tyrese Maxey. Oh, right before the game, Tyrese Maxey's out. I think in the locker room, there was a sense of we got this. It's easy money. Like they don't have Batum, Maxi, or Embiid. This is baby food, and oh my God, we got caught off guard, and I don't like to see that because that's what's been the problem in years past. Celtics taking their opponents too lightly and going into the game with a little bit too much confidence that they're going to automatically win. It's just by how much, and then stuff like that happens. Even though it's a 6-point win, it was ugly and probably one of Boston's worst games of the year, other than in Orlando. I just think that this year, with Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid playing at another MVP level, increasing his passing efficiency, he's up in assists, career high in assists. Tyrese Maxey, career high in points. He's shooting the 3-ball way better this year. That was his flaw going into the draft, but he has completely extended his range very well. I am very scared about this Sixers team. First of all, they're fucking due. They honestly, like, if they don't beat us this year, even though we 100% are going to be favored going into a series with them, if they don't beat us this year, that is very, very, very bad. A bad look for Sixers fans. I would be distraught because this team looks fast. They look like they want to play defense. There's not that hanging cloud over their head of, is James Harden going to be on the team, and or is he going to just blow up in the playoffs and give us those, 5 turnover, 20 missed shot games where we're missing out on 20 possessions because of the guy? They don't have to worry about that anymore. They just have to play through Joel Embiid, just like they took the page right out of the Nuggets playbook. Give the ball to Joel Embiid, let him make plays, and make sure the guys around him can shoot and create off the dribble. And I think they have the perfect mesh around Joel Embiid. This is the best team around him that he's had, I believe, that fit his strengths. Because even when he had a guy in his prime like Ben Simmons, who was first team all defense in consideration for defensive player of the year, he couldn't, obviously, everybody knows you can't make a basketball into an ocean. So Joel Embiid was drawing double coverage all the time. And even if he was passing out to Ben Simmons, what's he going to do from 3? What's he going to do from mid-range? Absolutely nothing. So this year, I believe that the team around him just complements him so well, and I am very scared about Philly. If we have a series with Philly, it will probably go to 7 again, and I don't doubt that they will be our toughest test if the Bucks can't figure out this Damian Lillard and Giannis defensive situation, because Damian Lillard is just getting picked apart, and I have full confidence that the Celtics can win a series against them, and right now I'm leaning towards Philly as our biggest threat. This next question is from Tyler, and Tyler asks, Horford's playing well, but are you concerned with a Porzingis injury that Keita and Kornet cannot step up in big-time situations, and do we need to look in a different direction in general? Me and Anthony have talked about this a little bit, not too much, but in the beginning of the year, I believed that we 100% needed to make a move for a backup big, not in the sense that Luke Kornet was like horrible. It was in the sense that if Porzingis is hurt and we need Luke Kornet and 37-year-old Al Horford and Keita to come into a playoff game and play 30 plus minutes for us, I'm a little concerned about that. And as of late, Kornet and Keita, other than dropping and pick and roll and getting picked apart 3-point shots, their defense has been pretty solid. Their rebounding has been good for us. And I love what Al Horford has been showing in the games that he's started. He looks a lot better in games where he gets to start than when he comes off the bench. At the beginning of the year, I was very concerned that age was coming up to him, but We've seen so many good defensive plays of him as lately. The three-point shot is finally hitting. He's over 40% over his last 5. And I believe that, yes, the Celtics should get an insurance policy at the big man position, 100%. But is he going to, do we need to make a big move for a big man that's going to play 25 plus minutes in the playoffs? I don't think so. I think as long as we know for certain that this Kristaps Porzingis injury is not as big a deal as the team is making a note of, then yes, 100%, I am cool with what we have right now. But an insurance policy, that'd be a little bit better. That'd give me a little bit more hope about the Celtics completing the championship run this year. Question 3. We got the Pacers ranking at the top of the league in transition points per game and pace. How can the Celtics slow down their fast-scoring, high-powered offense? And will Porzingis' absence in the game be significant or marginal? Porzingis' absence, for one, significant, 100%. I believe that if Porzingis was in the drop coverage and he's going out to contest a 3, Tyrese Halliburton and company, they're not going to be having a good shooting game. Porzingis is one of the best contested three-point centers in the NBA, and he's sitting at 7'3", long wingspan. It's clear that he's way better on his feet than any of the rest of the bigs on the team. And yes, I think that with the highest transition points per game, our bigs not being able to get down the floor quickly enough to defend the transition break, I am very concerned about Kristaps Porzingis' absence, and in the sense of the transition points per game and how we slow down this high-scoring, high-paced offense. Honestly, we do have a great roster to do so. Drew Holiday and Derek White, two of the best perimeter guards in the NBA, alongside Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who, when they don't have to chuck up 30 shots in a game and they're focused on the defensive end, they're two of the best wing defenders in the NBA. I think we match up very well, but I am concerned about Al Horford, not in this game, but in future games, getting 32, 35 minutes on those 37-year-old legs. And I think that going into this game specifically, the Celtics will need to limit the amount of turnovers they get. They're doing dumb turnovers as of late. They're going back to last year where you just look at some of the passes they're making. You're like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? What were you thinking? Like, it's easy to watch the game and see it, but indifferent when you're playing it. It's moving so fast, but a lot of those passes have been concerning for us. And if we have a high turnover game, Indiana's going to blow us out. Like, we need to make sure that we are passing with a purpose and we know where the ball is going, where it needs to go. And if we can limit the amount of turnovers, I believe that will result in our defense being able to slow down this team, play at their own pace, 22nd in the league, and just, take this game down, make it a defensive-based game for them. And if they can do that, then the Celtics, -4.5, blow that through the water, throw your entire life savings on that. Don't, because I don't want you guys threatening me after. I am not the best bettor, but that one just looks very, very enticing. We just need to limit the turnovers. That's the key going into this game. Last question here. It's a 2-part question, so I count it as 2 questions. But who would you prefer to play in the next round if we were to advance, Milwaukee or New York? And who would you like to play in the championship if you could pick? So this in-season tournament, I believe, is going to favor the teams that really don't have a chance to win the championship, but they have a chance to win something. And I feel like the teams that are middling, that like really don't have a championship shot, but are going to be playoff teams, like the Pelicans, like the Kings, like the Knicks, I think they're going to come in with a different intensity against these teams who are just trying to play for a championship. And yeah, if the Celtics go out here, lose to Indiana or lose to Milwaukee or New York in the next round, for one, all of the talk is going to be about how the Celtics foots off the gas and how they don't want a championship. But if they win, nobody's going to give them shit. No one's going to give them any credit, any credibility. Oh, you won you were supposed to win the in-season tournament. It's going to apply more pressure going into the playoffs. And I just think that if you're going to ask Boston to play hard in this in-season tournament where, yes, they went out into a game where they were supposed to win by 23, and they did so with purpose. I loved everything I saw in that game. I just don't know if these higher caliber teams are going to want it as badly. And so going into the next game, honestly, I would rather see Milwaukee. Right now, Milwaukee, 100% yes, is a better team than the New York Knicks. And I think that they are tier one contenders, unlike the New York Knicks. But the Knicks have had one of the best defenses in the league. RJ Barrett looks great. Jalen Brunson, better on three-point shooting and increased his range so that he can do high pick and rolls and shoot the deep three off of it. And that has completely opened up the Knicks offense because other than Brunson, RJ Barrett, it's looked pretty rough. Julius Randle had a horrible start to the year, but he's started to come into shape a little bit. And I would just 100% like to see Milwaukee over New York. I'm scared of New York. Yes, 100%. They're going to come in. They know that I feel like they know that they have no championship aspirations. I'm sorry, Knicks fans. If you thought that you were going to win a championship this year, I would probably put all of the $217 that to my name on the opposite that to happen. I don't think the Knicks are going to have a chance to win an NBA championship. So this in-season tournament means a lot to them. And if the Celtics were to advance to the championship game, the team I don't want to see is the New Orleans Pelicans. I think that they match up against the Celtics perfectly. They got guys like Jonas Valanciunas and Zion Williamson down low who create havoc and have one of the best rim rates in the NBA at their respective positions. And they are a terror down low. And I feel like with Porzingis out, if Porzingis was going to be out for the championship, even if Porzingis was in for the championship, I just think that they outman us, outstrength us down low. And that's going to create a lot of problems for us. Thank God that they're not tier one contenders, because if we saw them in the finals, which we won't, I don't know. That's a really weird matchup for the Celtics. I don't want to see the Pelicans in the championship. But who I would pick out of all of the teams is the Los Angeles Lakers. I know they're the one seed in this in-season tournament, but for one, they play at a slower pace. I think that favors the Celtics. I believe that we match up very well. We would pick apart their defensive guards. We would pick apart LeBron. Jason Tatum on LeBron, that's easy money. I don't care. And LeBron's having an amazing 21st season, but he is still he's not what he was on his feet anymore. He's not a premier defender. He has to focus more on the offensive side, and that's been great for them. But his defense has obviously declined in his 21st year, and I love that matchup for the Celtics. Anthony Davis is a monster when he wants to be. Does he want to be in this in-season tournament? I'm not putting my money on Anthony Davis to want to win something. So I would love to see the Lakers, one, because I fucking hate the Lakers. I haven't even watched them be good in my time of being an NBA fan, and just being a Celtics fan, I was born with a hatred for purple and gold. So I would love to see the Celtics pull it off and beat the Lakers in the championship. That the amazing ratings, everyone would love that matchup too. And I just think that we are a great matchup against them, and we would blow their doors open in transition, on defense, as long as our guys, because the game comes down to, are you going to make shots? Are you going to miss shots? In all retrospect. And I think that, yeah, you go into a game with the Lakers, of course we could lose. Of course, Jason Tatum could go 4 for 20 and Jaylen Brown could go 4 for 13. Like that could happen. But do I bet that that's going to happen? No, this team's looked fucking unreal this year. I love what I've seen from them. And if we were to advance to the championship, be able to beat the Lakers, old asses out of there, I would love every second of that. And thank you guys for listening to this short little podcast. Hopefully I can get it out in the morning, and let's hope for a Celtics win, because although we really don't know what this in-season tournament really is, and no one really understands like how significant and what it means and how much money, blah, 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 I'm fucking interested. I'm on the edge of my seat just because it's a trophy. As Felger would say, I'm a sports junkie. And if there's something on the line, there's a dollar on the line, there's a trophy on the line, I want it. And although I'm not on the team, I want that trophy in Boston. I want to be the first in-season tournament champions, and hopefully we could take that first step in this game versus Indiana. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll be back this week with our Patriots/Celtics full podcast.